Dillian the Body Snatcher right here. It's a champ. Big up to Sporting Icon. Subscribe. Otherwise, I might pay you guys a visit.
The Body Snatcher, Dillian Whyte, the number one and silver champion for the WBC and the number one in the WBO, has said that if he fights Oleksandr Usyk, he will maul him. In other words, he's too big for him, he's too strong for him, and he will bully Oleksandr Usyk. Now, before we get into his statement, I know a lot of people, for whatever strange reason, just don't rate Dillian Whyte. I don't understand it. Yeah, he's beaten everybody he's been put in front of him. Undefeated former world champion, Lucas Browne, who a lot of people were picking Lucas Browne to beat him. But because of the way that Dillian Whyte handled Lucas Browne and stopped Lucas Browne by a vicious knockout, and for the fact that Lucas Browne, he wasn't in the best condition, granted, but suddenly Lucas Browne was a bum straight after that fight. I don't understand it. Robert Helenius, who had only ever lost one fight beforehand and was tipped to be the next Vladimir Klitschko. Dillian Whyte eased to a points decision win, and the reason that he went to the points decision was because Helenius was on the back foot the entire fight. He just wasn't interested in fighting, and anybody knows, any fighter knows, anybody who knows anything about boxing, when a fighter is in defensive mode, they are very, very difficult to stop. Look at Floyd Mayweather. He spent half his career doing that. Difference is he actually threw punches. That's why he was actually winning rounds while he was doing it. And of course, his last fight, Joseph Parker. A lot of people were picking Joseph Parker to beat Dillian Whyte. And because Dillian Whyte beat him, he dropped Joseph Parker 2 occasions. One of them was a bit iffy, for sure. But even if you was to wipe that one out, he legitimately knocked him down in round number 9 with a sweet left hook. For the first time in Joseph Parker's career, he got legitimately dropped to the canvas. And again, people say, but Joseph Parker nearly finished off Dillian Whyte in the last round. Yes, nearly, but didn't. Okay, there's the difference. Nearly. So many fighters nearly have things done to them. So should we say that Luis Ortiz nearly beat Deontay Wilder, so therefore we should say Deontay Wilder actually lost? No, of course not. So, anyway, him against Oleksandr Usyk. And again, a lot of people who are now huge fans of Usyk, I'm a huge fan of Oleksandr Usyk. I have been for a little while now. Because of the way that he just systematically broke down Bellew and caught him with a huge southpaw punch that just knocked out Tony Bellew virtually clean out, right? And with Dillian Whyte saying that he would walk through Usyk, people say, no, Usyk will do this and Usyk will do that. Usyk may be able to do that. We don't know at heavyweight. It's an unknown commodity at heavyweight. There's a huge difference between cruiserweight and heavyweight. There's only a few pounds difference, but you're going up against huge men who hit very, very hard. And I know that Usyk, as an amateur, he has fought at super heavyweight before, at heavyweight. So he's been around, and yes, he did go through Joe Joyce. Joe Joyce was a real novice at that point when it happened. But taking nothing away from him, Oleksandr Usyk is a phenomenal fighter. And if people have him as pound for pound number 1, fair play. If you have him as top 5, fair play. Either way, he's definitely 100%. I don't really go into the whole pound for pound thing, but he is a top 10 pound for pound, if pound for pound even exists, which for me, I don't believe that it does. But anyway, yes, he's a legitimate threat to anybody. But the thing is, because it's Dillian Whyte, people go, no, Usyk will walk through him. Well, you don't know that. You just don't know that. And for those who don't rate Dillian Whyte, well, he will prove you wrong time and time again. And I've been saying it for the past year or two now, that Dillian Whyte will walk through Deontay Wilder. Hence the reason why Deontay Wilder has ducked Dillian Whyte. But anyway, that's another thing. So this is Dillian Whyte versus Oleksandr Usyk. And this is what Dillian Whyte said to Sky Sports. And of course, I'll put this article in the description box for you all. Usyk will struggle at heavyweight. Heavyweights are bigger and stronger guys, and they will manhandle him. If I fought him, I wouldn't do what Tony Bellew was doing. I'd be charging at him all around the ring. He's not going to drop me with one punch. I would maul him all night long. I would fight him in a very uncomfortable zone for him. If it's a big fight he wants, he can have it. I'm game. If Usyk wants it, he can have it. I'm the can man. Like I say all the time, if you're a top 10 fighter, you can have it. I can never see him shock a real heavyweight. Maybe his movement to some lazy heavyweights. But as a heavyweight, you close it down, nullify it, and beat him up, rough him up. You will outweigh him by 2 or 3 stones, so weigh him down, push him around. He didn't like a few things Bellew did, like hit him on the side of the head, and he was complaining. So I saw a few signs there that he doesn't like it rough. So that is Dillian Whyte's statement on Oleksandr Usyk. So with that one, for me, if you put Oleksandr Usyk in with Dillian Whyte, especially like next, obviously depend on how December 22nd goes, but for me, I think that December 22nd in the rematch against Derek Chisora, Dillian Whyte will do what he should have done in the very first fight, which is beat him up and then knock him out. I think that's what Dillian Whyte's going to do to Chisora. The reason that he went the distance and it was a close fight is because Dillian Whyte gassed early on in the fight. He let emotion get on the better of him. And the fact that was his fourth fight in only 6 months. So already he's going into that fight not rested at all. He's already fatigued before he's even stepped foot in the ring. And of course with like a lot of emotion on the line as well. So this time round I fully expect him to go through, but who knows? Maybe there's a new reinvigorated Derek Chisora. Who knows, okay? Of course, now he's under David Haye, which is a bizarre one, because he's just given David Haye 25% to manage him, even though he was going to get that fight anyway. It's bizarre. It's a real bizarre thing for him to do. Now, of course, David Haye is helping him with his training. So does that mean that Derek Chisora is not confident in Don Charles? Anyway, that's a whole other thing. So Dillian Whyte versus Oleksandr Usyk. As I said, there's a lot of fans now of Oleksandr Usyk. And again, see, he's done what we've been asking Wilder to do, which is come to the UK and take on somebody who we would view as a 50-50 fight for you. And if you do that, you become a star overnight. Now, I know that a lot of Americans, they only see that if you do something in America, then it's important. Whatever goes on in Europe and the rest of the world, if we didn't see it, it's not important. But this is what I'm saying to you. If Wilder came to the UK, he would become a star overnight by beating a UK fighter. For example, him fighting Tyson Fury right now, in America, he's not going to get much props for it. Because he's an out-conditioned, inactive Tyson Fury after everything that he's gone through. So it's for me, I'll give Tyson Fury a 20 to 30% chance of beating him. And I don't like saying that. I really don't, because I want Tyson Fury to go in there and do the business, and I hope that he does. But if this fight had happened in the UK, it would sell out. It would be huge pay-per-view over here, but in America, it's just not. So this fight should have happened here in the UK, and Wilder would become a star overnight. And that's the truth of it, right? He would go back home a hero. But anyway, Oleksandr Usyk has done that. He beat Tony Bellew in a fight that most people were picking Usyk to win. That is for sure, but Bellew always carried that. Well, he may not be the favourite, but he's proven people wrong time and time again. And this one, he didn't prove anybody wrong, although he did prove a few people wrong who said that Bellew can't win any rounds against him. His only chance of beating Usyk is to knock him out. But he was winning some rounds. But with Dillian Whyte will do the complete opposite to Tony Bellew. Tony Bellew was trying to outbox him and try and catch him, like counterpunch him. Dillian Whyte won't do that. In fact, he will probably take a lot of shots from Usyk, trap him, and then unload on him. One thing that he didn't mention in this one, which a lot of people have become quite aware of, especially over like the last year or so, especially in the World Boxing Super Series with Usyk versus Bradis, is that Usyk doesn't like body shots. And what is Dillian Whyte famous for? The body shots. Hence the body snatcher. Punishing rib crackers. Okay, so can Usyk take those kind of punches? Time will tell. I mean, it's an unknown thing. I know a lot of people will say, well, Usyk, he could probably beat Joshua. Maybe. We don't know. I mean, that's just opinion. It's not fact. Just because somebody believes in something, it's not fact. For example, I believe that Dillian Whyte would beat Oleksandr Usyk. That doesn't mean I'm right until we actually see it. We don't know, do we? Like, I believe that Dillian Whyte will walk through Deontay Wilder and stop him early doors. Just because I believe it, don't mean it's going to happen. Okay, so, let's be real about it. But I would like to see this fight. First things first, Dillian Whyte's got to get through Derek Chisora. Points, win, knockout, doesn't matter, just get the win. And then, if the April 13th against Joshua don't happen, then, okay, why not? But of course, the only way that fight isn't going to happen is if Wilder actually grows some nuts and actually steps up for the first time in 41 fights and actually fights a legitimate, live, ready, active opponent. And in Anthony Joshua or Dillian Whyte. Either one of those two, I'll be happy with. But I don't think Wilder's going to do that. He's going to use the whole WBC. Well, I've got a mandatory against Dominic Breazeale. Yeah, because that's not set up, right? Okay. But anyway, I hope that we do see Oleksandr Usyk versus Dillian Whyte. In some ways, I kind of don't, because then it would just... I don't know, it's like Usyk is like another potential star. If you put him in there with, say, Dillian Whyte, and Dillian Whyte does maul him, where does that leave Usyk? Okay, that's another couple of big fight nights that we're not going to get in the future. So for me, I think that Usyk should maybe fight a lower tier kind of guy in the heavyweight for a debut. And if you go straight in with Dillian Whyte, that's risky, man. That is real risky. And based on what I've seen against Tony Bellew, and especially against Bradis, Dillian Whyte would walk through him. But who knows? With Usyk moving up, obviously he'll have a bit more muscle mass on him, a bit more power, a bit more zip in his shots. But does that mean he's going to slow down a bit? Maybe. But anyway, it's questions that hopefully we will all have answered within the next 12 months or so. But ultimately, obviously Usyk's going to spend a bit of time with his family now, have a few weeks away, a couple of months even, and then decide what he wants to do. But he's going to move up to heavyweight, no doubt about it. But first things first, Dillian Whyte needs to get past Derek Chisora. So anyway, drop your thoughts below about it, click that thumbs up, and of course subscribe. Catch you all on the next video.